Hey there, Jim Sylvia here. I'm in Harpers Ferry. Of course, where else would I be? I want to talk today a little bit about the railroad along the Shenandoah here. Originally, the Winchester and Potomac line, about 32 miles from Winchester to Harpers Ferry. But the railroad itself had some significant changes for the town itself. And the more I spend time here, the more I start to see those changes and what was here at different times. So we can kind of see this double wall here with the lower wall with uh, the lower bricks here, and then the upper wall, which has changed a little bit. So when you look at the lower wall here, you can see, more of the flatter cut stones, and then you walk along a little bit, and now you see this secondary wall, and of course there's a lot of foliage coming out of it, the trees coming out of it, but you can see it's definitely much different stones, larger stones placed on top of it, and probably about another 5 feet of height added to it. So this kind of comes along for a while, and you can see if you follow the bottom wall, you can see it's pretty continuous, and we're going to follow this just for a little while longer. And the reason I'm showing this is because we take for granted what we see today for the features in the land around us, but once we start to understand these changes, we start to understand the story of Harpers Ferry and the railroad. So now you can see, we've got this wall that we've been following, and now all of a sudden we kind of come to this strange intersection of rocks. So let's kind of pull out a little bit, and it's kind of hard to really show it, but when we go forward, the formation is much more substantial, larger rocks, and it continues on its way up to the point. What this intersection is a combination of the old railroad, which would have been the straight line railroad, combining now with the 1890s change. So the original railroad would have been the 1836 line, maybe about 5 feet tall or so, above the ground, and then maybe some sort of trestling on top of that. But then when we have these larger stones, this was the 1890s building, so they're using different stones, different quarry, and different size stones, and that was when they were building the new structure, changing the line. And what this attempt right here was merging that old with the new, combining in the old original line along the Shenandoah. So it's important because we know that this new line was not here when we talk about John Brown, when we talk about the old families that ran the town. So when the Junto and the Wagers were running the show, you just had the one straight line, and you had more land. You see the outline of the large Arsenal building. You had more land behind the Arsenal building. And then the other important thing, let me get out of the sun here. The other important thing is when we talk about Osborne Anderson and his escape from town, he's going to escape from the Arsenal building in front of us, and then he is going to jump up onto, after he jumps over the Arsenal wall, he's going to jump up onto the railroad wall. But if we put it in context of today, he's got to go up about 10 to 12 feet. But if we look back at the original wall, which is here, he actually doesn't really have to jump up too far, and he's only getting on this 5-foot wall, and he's going to follow this wall or this railroad build-up out of town along the Shenandoah. So I find this fascinating because if you would have asked me this 3 years ago, I had no idea, and I would not have known anything about it. But as I dive into these details, as I dig into the history of the town, the railroad, the stories, these little nooks and crannies that didn't really mean anything a few years ago start to really have meaning and really start to pull that story together so that I can give visitors and friends that extra depth to the story. So next time you see a wall at Harpers Ferry, you see some feature in the town, look a little harder, look a little deeper, and see if you can find some details that maybe you didn't notice before. That's it for now. I'll check in a little later. Thanks. Take care.